Good day, and welcome to another edition of the Michael Badaway Show. This time live from YouTube. As you know, we've been talking last episode about the COVID-19 and what's going on here in Canada and around the world. In fact, this is applicable to all human beings as we're all kind of going through everything together. So, on the show, we're going to be discussing the facts as they are. We're going to be discussing fiction in terms of unproven conspiracy theories. Nevertheless, you never know what could be. And there's a lot of them out there. So we're going to talk about them and debate them anyway, just because it's fun. And we're going to talk about rumors too, not to mention anything else that you want to discuss. So I will be open to suggestions if you want to submit a topic. We are taking comments at this time. Bear with me. I'm kind of new to this live stream stuff. You'd think that I would have learned this by now, but whatever. There's always a time and a place, right? So let's get started. What do you think? Are you still at home? You still feeling well? I hope you are. I hope you're keeping well. Most people at this point are taking COVID-19 quite seriously. There's still a few that are kind of like, whatever. I don't really believe it. Until a couple of weeks ago, Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, was one of those people. He said it was nonsense, it was a waste of time, and blah, 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 blah. He's kind of changed his tune on that. I think that we kind of have to pull together here. Whether you think that this is a conspiracy, whether you think that this is, the Earth's immune system getting rid of human beings for, sucking so badly, or whether you think that this is God's wrath, it doesn't matter. It's happening. It's affecting people now. I know somebody who knew somebody that passed away from COVID-19. So that's kind of interesting. And I actually know two of the people from the Princess, whatever it was, cruise ship that got held up off the coast of Japan there for, several weeks. Greg and Rose Yerrick's, who are doing well, thank goodness. Nevertheless, it's an interesting time. People are self-isolating. Social isolating, social distancing. It's been said maybe social conditioning. It's like, at what point are we trading our freedom for security? Now, I'm not saying that we don't need said security, because right now people are literally losing their shirts. They're at their wits' end. They're afraid for their loved ones. They're afraid for their jobs. They may have already lost their jobs. You may have already lost your job. And it's not an easy time, right? But we have to hang in there. The thing is, you have to remain positive, and you can't bury your head in the sand. This is happening, right? The whole world has stopped. Now, there are some who would say that this is some sort of biological warfare. That's one of the conspiracy theories, biological warfare. And going back to Elon Musk, actually, just to link the two, because Elon Musk also recently said that the biggest problem that humanity faces in the next 20 years is not out of control population, but rather population collapse. That's right. He said population collapse. And the CEO of Alibaba actually agreed with him. It's an interesting take, There's nobody being born, and this is kind of happening now almost globally. Not nobody, but replacement numbers for replacing the human beings that are here. And traditionally, the way that our society works is that there are less older people at the top, and the younger people, pay into CPP to help support the older people. And as the younger people get older, the more numerous yet younger people help to support them in their pension and old age. Now, what is happening, or what Elon Musk is predicting, is an inverted pyramid where we will have many older people and then so few young people to support this system, which is, as you might figure out, potentially quite problematic. So, anyway, so again, going back to conspiracy theories. Okay, what if this is a way to reduce the population? That's been suggested. I I don't know. Anything's possible. That's the fun to speculate thing about it. Like you can't say whether it is or isn't, because I don't know and you don't know. But we can definitely discuss it, and we can even prove it or disprove it. You know, it still doesn't make it true, by the way. If I prove something to you, I can prove anything to you. I can prove that aliens exist. I can write you a paper. I can come up with all kinds of evidence that aliens exist. It doesn't mean that they exist. I can also disprove it. It doesn't mean that that supposition is correct either. The only thing we know for a fact is how little we actually know. So again, we do know that the COVID-19 virus is affecting people, whether, again, it's biological warfare. It's been compared to World War III. So I don't know. There was a book actually written back in 1981. It describes this sort of situation, and people have kind of said it's a disproven conspiracy theory, because while it got the, it said it was the Wuhan flu, and it came from the city of Wuhan, and it was going to happen in the year 2020, but they got the number of people, who were affected and died wrong. Nevertheless, that's a lot of coincidence to just write off. So I don't know. It raises an eyebrow. It's like that whole The Simpsons can predict the future thing. There's been so many events that have been called out by The Simpsons years before they've happened. So maybe this was part of somebody's plan all along. And people have suggested that it's the Chinese who have released this virus, and people have suggested it's the Americans who have released this virus. I don't know. Maybe we should not play with viruses. Maybe it could have been a simple act of idiocy by somebody who accidentally was researching said virus or viruses in some laboratory. And, we should not be playing with fire. I do believe that the human race we're not as smart as we like to think we are, and our hubris can get us in a lot of trouble, and it currently is. Now, we spoke yesterday about how maybe this is just it. Maybe the earth has had enough of us and it's going to shake us off. If that's the case, then see you later. I don't know. It's kind of cool, though, that the pollution levels and whatnot are clearing up at least a little bit. Obviously, we've done a lot of damage to the planet over a fair amount of time, but the fact that pollution is dropping at a substantial rate now that everybody's at home is definitely a positive sort of thing in this. Again, it's all in your perception. Or some people are completely panicked, staying at home, lock the doors, and rightly so. Others are really being foolhardy and going out and causing potential problems for themselves and their families and their friends by gathering. Now, again, while I think it's a good idea to stay in your home, it goes back to what level of security is important enough that we trade our freedoms for it. So are we ready for martial law? Maybe I'm a fan of martial law, maybe not. But the point is, a lot of countries are going that direction right now and imposing curfews and all kinds of measures to try to keep people safe. At what point, though, do we give up what makes our society great for that safety? I'm asking, not telling. I'm asking you, because ultimately, it doesn't matter what I think. Okay. And what I'm asking you right now is what do you think? It doesn't matter what you think. The only thing that matters is what we as a whole think. And the problem with we is that it's a catch 22, because we is a mob mentality sometimes. And when a mob gets scared or angry, it's uncontrollable. The mob does not think. It's just a mob of angry people. You've heard of an angry mob. Well, that can exist. And that's, I think, the greatest fear. Why a lot of governments are trying, well, not the greatest fear, of course, but it's part of the fear that you don't want an angry mob of people going around running amok, because ultimately it doesn't help anyone in a situation such as this. It only creates even more panic. And then you have more of that knee-jerk reactionary methodology, which is not very effective. So again, what do? You have the mob mentality now. So it only matters what we think. And if you talk to somebody one-on-one, they're usually an intelligent individual. You can appeal to their sense of logic and have a discussion with them openly and maybe come to an understanding. But when you're talking to a group of people, it's often rhetoric and other such things that, one-liners that could be said that could, spur on the crowd or not, or lean them in any direction. So a group of people may not always be as effective as making an intelligent decision as you by yourself. Having said that, there's strength in numbers. We're stronger together. And if we can, as a group, not panic, then in fact, those decision-making abilities carry forward into the group, and it's not a mob mentality as I was describing. Speaking of reactionary measures, though, let's go back to this for a second, because I find it somewhat pathetic. I hate to use the word, but it is that, well, I'll use my country as an example, because here in Canada, I can't speak for every country, but I think it's pretty much global. We've got 40 million some odd people in this country, yet a few thousand patients all of a sudden can nearly break the system. What does that say about the system and the state of our healthcare system before this crisis? To me, it says it was on the brink. It tells me that our doctors and nurses and frontline medical staff, unfortunately, have not been given the resources that they sorely needed and need to deal with a situation such as this one. If just a quarter, say, of the stimulus that has been now injected into our economy were to have been injected into the healthcare system last year, and if the healthcare system had not been neglected for so many years, perhaps we would be in a much better situation to deal with this mess. Now, again, it only matters what we think. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. Well, it does to a point. But, unless you vote on it or something along these lines, follow the democratic process, and the we gets translated into something of value, something intelligent and not just fear, then we can definitely make a difference. For right now, people are living in fear. People are staying home. It's interesting, all the protests that were happening around the world just stopped. There was a big protest here in Canada. That stopped. The native blockade, gone, vanished. Isn't that interesting? As we beg for curfew. How about the Hong Kong protests? Gone, finished, vanished, vamoose. Everybody's at home, thanking their God or whoever they believe in that they're safe and sound at home for now, not protesting in the streets. So it's caused a paradigm shift where we're running into the arms of mother government, father government, whatever you want to call it, big brother. There you go, big brother. That's the terminology that people are using, right? Big brother. So that's what it's all about. um, I'll leave it up to you to decide what is true, what isn't true. I still stand by my earlier statements. It's best to play it cautious. Do not go out unnecessarily. Not only maybe it's nonsense as maybe you believe, right? Maybe you believe that. Maybe it is. However, if there's a 1% chance that it's not nonsense, and I don't believe that it's nonsense, people are dying. Uh, do you want to take the risk? Forget yourself, but do you want to take the risk of bringing something home to your loved ones, to your parents, to your grandparents, to your children, to your grandchildren? No, absolutely not. So play it safe, and let's think on these things. I do want to touch on some of these issues again in the coming days. We will definitely delve in to some of the more interesting conspiracy theories, not to mention, go over the daily news regarding COVID-19. And we're not just going to keep it to COVID-19. Anything is up for debate here. And we'll just talk about current events. We'll talk about, whatever is going on in the world, or whatever you want to talk about, whatever I want to talk about. We're going to talk. In the meantime, have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Don't breathe too deeply. This is Michael Badaway, live from my computer.